Shalom, shalom. It's the brother Kadash. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kadash. Hold that real quick. Okay. This is debunking. Damn, I didn't get the dude's name, but it says the verse that proves Jesus, which the world ignorantly calls Jesus, which his true name is Yahweh Shai, lied, and he's going to break it down of why he think the Lord lied, and we're just going to go through and very simply debunk this. The spirit was on me. I seen this video. I wasn't going to really, say nothing about it or make a video on it, but the spirit jumped on me to, go ahead and grab the Bible and break down this, because some of the things he said is the problem, and he's more attacking the Christians, the so-called Christians, but they're not really Christians, and attacking their doctrine. And going off that doctrine, some of the things he's saying is making sense because they do have holes in their doctrine. But the true Christians, the Hebrew Israelites, the true followers of Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, we have the answers to some of these things that he's asking. So let's go through, debunk it, and break it down.
According to mainstream religion, lying is a sin, but I bet you didn't know that the Bible shows that Jesus is a liar.
So we're going to stop it. We're going to be stopping because we're breaking it down. We're going to try to go from point to point, or the points that's important, Well, the Bible doesn't talk about lying as being sin. An Israelite lying to another Israelite or deceiving another Israelite is a sin. But just like you had Abraham before he was Abram, he technically, you would say, he deceived the pharaohs at that time, so it shows you that that's not a sin. But our law has to do amongst us, and then there is universal man laws between man, like adultery and stuff like that. But a lot of our laws have to do with the Israelites amongst the Israelites, and this is what the Bible focuses on. But when you just throw everybody in there, all nations, and mix them in together, then that's where you have that confusion.
It wasn't just a little white lie either. It's about as big of a lie as you can possibly imagine, because it's about the end of the world in a situation that's actually similar to what we're experiencing right now. I'm going to show you the one verse that shows that Jesus is a liar and what it has to do with the end of the world. Before I can show you how Jesus clearly lied in the verse that shows it, you have to know a little bit about the end of the world, or what mainstream religion calls the end times, or the Great Tribulation. So according to...
and that's his problem. He's going off of mainstream religion and stuff like that. That's his problem, He could come to the Hebrew Israelites and get the answers to these questions very easy. You say that somebody is lying and you having a misunderstanding is two different things. So really you're lying, and you're false accusing the Lord, So he gonna have to deal with that. He gonna have to pay for it.
In mainstream Christianity, this will be a cataclysmic event when wars will break out everywhere, the Antichrist will come to power, 24. And demons will roam the earth attacking people. Yeah.
There's many Antichrists. See, so we're going to have to stop and break this down, man, just to clear up some understanding. There's many of Antichrist. What does the word Antichrist mean? I mean, you're just pretty much anti-Yahweh Shai. Well, there's many men. There's the Edomites as a whole people of man that's anti-Yahweh Shai, the world, so there's many Antichrists in that sense, and yeah, people do have demons on them, and this world's going to get to the most wickedest point it could get before the Lord comes to destroy it,
Really. Eventually, Jesus will return, and this is known as the second coming, and set up the kingdom of heaven on earth and have the devil chained up for 1,000 years. Then...
Cap. No. That already happened. He's talking about, let's see if we can find it off the top of our head. I ain't got no precepts written down, none of that. I'm just going off the top of my head. I believe it's that Revelation 17. Maybe it's not. Here, let me see if I can find it. I know it's around here somewhere. It might be Revelation 17. Nope, maybe it's Revelation 19. Let's see if we can find it. Yeah, Revelations 20, actually. So what he's talking about is this right here in Revelations 20. verse 1, it says, "And I saw the angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and the great chain of his hand," right? So, the bottomless pit is over there in Europe. It says, "And he laid hold of the dragon," that old serpent. The dragon and that old serpent is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. It says, "which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years." This already happened. This is talking about the dark ages when this already happened. So when you're reading through the book of Revelations, it's not going in order. I mean, I don't know how plainly I could say it. It's not going in order. It's jumping from time to time. Even what he's quoting in Matthew's 24. It's parts of Matthew's 24 that's talking about the end times, and it's parts of Matthew's 24 that's talking about 70 AD. Where Israel was, conquered, or, the Romans came in and sacked Israel. So that's what the Bible does. It's not going in order. It jumps around, and you have to be able to discern these things by which we're going to get into it. So this is talking about the dark ages, just to pretty much sum it up. But let's prove that, because you might read and you say, look, that old serpent, which is called the devil, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. You might say, look, it says Satan right there. It says Satan. It's talking about that spirit. The same spirit that was in the old serpent. It's the same spirit. I mean, it says devil. Devil just means deceiver, which is the same spirit that went to Cain, if you have ears to hear. And then it went to Esau, which is the wicked of the earth. That's why it's explaining it that way, to show you that Esau, Edom as a people, or the wicked on earth. You could go back to Malachi chapter 1 to break that down. But this is jumping back to Revelation chapter 12, because where else do we see that? Revelation chapter 12, verse 7. "There was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon." So there it is, talking about the dragon again, right? So let me break this down. It says, "And the dragon fought and his angels," right? So the dragon got angels. So they take that to mean, okay, it's talking about Satan and the angels, right? That he took with him. No, it's not. It says, "And prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. The great dragon was cast out." See, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the world. So there it goes again. Now, we know who deceiving the world. It's the Edomites that's in rulership that kind of look like him. Those are the ones that deceive the world by saying shit like the shit he's saying. It says, "And he was cast into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him," meaning they're going to be destroyed. They're not going to be in the heavens. So just to quickly break that down and give you the answer that you're looking for, it's simply talking about a war in the heavens when the Lord comes back. He's going to fight against the armies of the earth. That's the dragon, right? Which is led by America, which is Mystery Babylon. Their pilots, their flight pilots and jet pilots and military personnel. They're going to fight against the Lord in the heavens with rockets, missiles, jets, all type of stuff. There is going to be a war in the heaven. That's what it's talking about. That's why it says in the dragon and his angels. Angels just messengers. So when one country go to war with another country, they send their army over there. They're messengers to fight. Whoever wins, their message prevails, right? That's why it says, "and prevail not." Now, to prove what I'm saying, we're going to go back to Revelations, where we're going to go to Revelations chapter 19 and verse 19 to get a clue of that same event that's going to be happening, but it gives you more of a clue of what it's saying. Revelations chapter 19, verse 19. "I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies." So that same beast is talking about the dragon in Revelation. It's the same thing as the dragon in Revelations chapter 12. But this now is giving you more detail of what that really is. It says, "I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies." That's the dragon. "Gathered together," and it says, "and the kings and their armies." That's the angels. The dragon and his angels. The kings, the beast, and the armies, right? And the army's personnel, the military. It says, "Gathered together to make war against him that sat on a horse and against his army." So it's talking about the same event, but now it's telling you it's the armies of the earth. It's men, armies of the earth fighting against the Lord. See, because it says, look, "gathered together," right, "to make war against him that sat on the horse," which the world calls Jesus, which is Yahushua in the Hebrew, Paleo Hebrew, and his army, right? So that's where you get, "and there was a war in heaven, Michael and his angels," see? And if you go back to the one that sat on the horse and his army, which is his angels, obviously, and that's how you put it together, against the dragon, and the dragon fought his angels. So that proves what I'm saying. It's an army man that's going to fight against the Lord when he comes back to reclaim the earth and get vengeance for his people and redeem the elect of his people. Very simple how we just broke that down. So The Dark Ages, the seven. I mean, in what says, lay hold of the serpent and devil and bound him 1,000 years. That already happened in the past. It's called the Dark Ages. Let's move past that, so we don't get, because you could keep going and going and going. I could pull up Second Esdras chapter 13 to break down this even more, but let's keep going.
Be released again. Anyway, before all that happens, before the world is thrown into chaos, everyone who believes in Jesus will disappear. Again, yes, really. They all just literally vanish.
No, it's not everybody that believes. It's the elect. It's the ones that are elected that truly believe, because everybody claims they believe, and it's not enough just to believe. I mean, here, let me pull a couple precepts to prove that real quick. This is Romans chapter 3 verse 31. Do we then make void of the law through faith? So since you believe, do you make void of the law? God forbid. Yeah, we establish the law, meaning not just you believe, but you got to have works too. You got to follow the law to the best of your ability and believe. But ultimately, you just have to be chosen by the Lord to be saved. And you have to be an Israelite. We could go to Romans chapter 9, to even qualify, you have to be an Israelite. Romans chapter 9 breaks that down. Read it. Matter of fact, I'm going to jump back to it. This is James chapter 2. Let me see. Verse 17. It says, even so, faith or belief, you could switch it out, if it has not works, is dead being alone. Yeah, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. That's why when you get back to Revelations chapter 20, that's why it's telling you, here, let me see, where is that? That's why in Revelations 20, where it tells you, verse 12, and I saw the dead and the small and the great stand before God, and the books were open, and the other book was open, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the book according to their works. It says, and the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and the death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. Because it's not enough just to say you believe, but you have to prove that belief by having works. Works and belief go together. Now, to jump back, man, I'm really trying to get straight to the point where he said he lied, but the spirit gets on you, so you kind of got to break it down, because this is important. It might be somebody's first time seeing this, and you got to prove everything you saying. Just like what he doing, he just making assumptions that he don't have the answers to it, and trying to say, and he's false accusing the Lord of lying because he can't answer these questions. So I'm actually breaking it down to prove what I'm saying is true. Romans 9 chapter 1, I say my truth in Christ, I lie not, my conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continuous sorrow in my heart. For I could wish myself was accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. I mean, same blood, come from the same seed, going all the way back to Jacob, the man named that was changed to Israel, who are Israelites, to who pertaineth the adoption, the glory, the covenants, old and new covenant. And I mean, in order for you to be saved, you're going to have to go under the new covenant, right? And the giving of the law and the service of God and the promise. What's the promises? The promise of the kingdom. So you have to be an Israelite according to the flesh, like Paul said, to even be elected. Let's keep moving. And see, this is the problem. They try to put every nation and mix them in it and throw it into the Bible. And this is why they don't understand the Bible, because it's not for them. It's for the Israelites. Matter of fact, since we cooking, let's go back to Romans chapter 3, verse 1. What advantage then hath a Jew? Or what profit is there of circumcision? Much every way, chiefly because that into them were committed the oracles of God. Look, all that off the top of the head. Why? Because he's going to mention this, because to understand this Bible, it's not just enough just to get in here and read. The Lord has to give you the understanding, the knowledge, and the wisdom. You have to be a spiritual man to understand some of these things, which obviously he's not.
And they're transported to heaven. I'm not making this up. This mass disappearance occurs so that believers will be safe before the terrors of the end times happen. And this is known as the rapture. Now, by the way, I want to mention I was born into...
It's not known as the rapture. No, yeah, he's right. The mainstream Christians say the rapture, but no, it's just the elect being saved, you know, which you could read more about that in Revelation chapter 7.
A strict Christian household, and I was a Christian for many years, and the idea of the rapture...
You are a so-called Christian, not a real Christian. Matter of fact, here, just like the people claiming to be Jews are not the real Jews, man. Man, hey, look, the spirit get on you. I'm trying not to keep pausing it, but just let me cook, man. Just let me cook, you know, because the spirit gets on you. You kind of got to get it out. You know, you really care about it, right? I believe, let me see if I can find that. Is that Acts chapter 13? Let me see if I can find that. No, it might be Acts chapter 12. Yep. Acts chapter 11, actually. Acts chapter 11, verse 26. It says, when he had found him, he brought him into Antioch, and it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people, and the disciples were called Christians first at Antioch. Every single one of the disciples were Israelites by blood and by flesh, like Paul said in Romans 9 and in Romans 10. They were all Israelites by blood and flesh. They came either from the tribe of, Judah or Benjamin. Paul coming from Benjamin himself. So you have to be an Israelite by blood or flesh to be a true Christian, which a lot of Christians are not.
Was absolutely terrifying. Whenever my parents would leave to go shopping or whatever, I'd run to the TV and turn on the news to make sure that the rapture didn't happen, that I wasn't left behind. I can't emphasize enough how ideas like hell and the rapture are traumatizing for children. These ideas can result in what's known as...
Man, I'm cooking. And that's the problem. Like he said, I'll run to the TV, right? To make sure the rapture didn't happen. Well, if you read your Bible, you will understand that you can't miss the when the elect get saved, the so-called rapture, you're not going to be able to miss it. If you was actually reading the Bible, you would know the answers to these questions. You're not going to have to run to your TV to see if the rapture happened whenever the so-called rapture happens, you know, because of this. Revelation chapter 1, verse 7, behold, he cometh with the clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. We're going to come back to this verse, but every eye is going to see him. You're not going to miss it. You're not going to be in the house sleeping and miss it, man.
RTS, or religious trauma syndrome. Dr. Marlene Winnell, PhD, writes, religious trauma syndrome is the condition experienced by people who are struggling with leaving an authoritarian, dogmatic religion and coping with the damage of indoctrination. Religious trauma syndrome can be compared to a combination of PTSD and complex PTSD. Now, that's something I know all too well, and I experienced this firsthand. Now, I did a video all about that if you want to know more. But the verse that shows that Jesus is
you had a demon on you, and you still got a demon on you.
Liar has to do with the end of the world, the end times. Now, many people today think that we're living near the end times right now. But I want to make it clear that people are always thinking that it's the end times. Do you guys remember Y2K? For those that don't know, there was a programming bug that people believed was going to occur in the year.
That's because the end times, we have been in the end times since the Lord was crucified, since the Lord walked on the earth, since the Lord was born. That was the beginning of the end times. We have been living in the end times. It's just this right here. Let's prove it. This is the problem that people are not understanding about that. Well, he said it was the end times there, and this is gonna kill everything that he's gonna go into talking about right here. 2 Peter chapter 3. This is the problem. This is what 2 Peter chapter 3 is talking about. Verse 8. But beloved, be not ignorant. You can't be ignorant of these things and ask a question and then you false accusing the Lord because you're ignorant of these things. Of this one thing. This is very important, man. Be not ignorant of this one thing. We got to start using this more. to show the importance of this. So let me go through it. It says, "But beloved, be not ignorant of one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day." And that's the problem. So they thinking all that time ago he was saying it was the end time, and now it's 2,000 years later, and it's still the end time. Yeah, because the Lord time ain't our time. Like you said, one day is 1,000 years. 1,000 years to us is only one day to the Lord. Verse 9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to us, were not willing that any should perish, but all should come to repentance. That's New Testament. So where did Paul get that from? Let's see if we can find it. Off the top of the head. All this off the top of the head. That studying, man. That studying is very important, and I got to study even more. This is Psalms, and I believe it's Psalms 90? Yeah, verse 4. For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night. So 1,000 years to us is like one day to the Lord. So that's the big confusion, because you're going off a manly, a carnal, a Edomite way of thinking, rather than being spiritual. That's why he can't get these things. That's why there's so many questions that he can't answer.
2000. Now, this is because many
But a random guy like me, 27 years old, could understand this, could wake up and read the Bible and understand these and answer these questions. We got to thank Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai and our wise counsel, Proverbs chapter 1, the elders and the apostles at GMS, and the brothers, because you will learn a lot of stuff just the brothers. It ain't got to be an elder or apostle. You might learn something off watching another brother video, so that we got to be thankful for that, and it shows you that the Lord's people is waking up, and the work is being done, and the work is not in vain that all the brothers are doing, because brothers are learning, getting edified off of it. Keep going.
Computer programs represented 4-digit years as only 2 digits, meaning that the year 2000 would be indistinguishable from 1900. It was warned that this could potentially cause computer systems to fail all around the world, and it was a huge scare, and everyone thought that major computer crashes would occur, and it would kickstart the end of the world, the end times. I remember my parents stocking up on a ton of canned food and barrels of water just in case of the end times. But it turned out that most companies updated their computer systems, and so not much happened. The point is that many people are always thinking that the end times are about to occur. But the reason that you need to know all this is because I want to show you the verse that shows that Jesus lied. So Jesus is out talking with his disciples, and they ask him about the end of the world. In Matthew 24:3, they ask Jesus, "And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" So Jesus begins to describe to them all the terrible things that are going to happen. He talks about wars and bloodshed, earthquakes, disease, deceit, famines. He talks about how the rapture will occur and people will vanish. He talks about the sun darkening, the moon no longer giving light, and the stars falling from heaven, and how he's going to return.
He didn't really say like people will vanish. I mean, we could jump to it. He's saying he will send the angels to save the elect. I mean, you could say that they got beamed up and they vanished. Hey, they got translated into a chariot, I mean, let's keep going.
In the clouds. Matthew 24:29-30 says, "After the time of suffering, the sun will darken, the moon won't produce light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly powers will be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." So that's all well and good, but listen carefully to what he says next. Matthew 24:33-34 says, "When you see all these things, know that it is near, at the doors. Assuredly I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place."
Okay, so let's break it down. I mean, we already did. Just like it said in 2 Peter chapter 3. One day to us, one day to the Lord. 1,000 days to us, human man, is only one day to the Lord. So even during that time, it's still like 2 3 days, so it's still the same generation. Now this is what's very important, what you have to understand, and you have to accept this and believe this in order to understand this, and you have to be a spiritual man to understand what I'm about to say. Reincarnation is biblical. Now, the mainstream Christians don't believe in that, and he's right. That's why their doctrine is off. Now, if you believe in reincarnation, now this makes sense. Which it says the same thing like we just read in Revelation chapter 1. Let's jump back to it. Let's break this down. Bear with me, it's all off the top of the head. So Revelation chapter 1, verse 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. So how would those Romans that pierced him, right? How would they see him coming 2 3 thousand years later? Why? Because reincarnation, those same spirits, those same spirits, right, that was around when he got crucified, those same spirits are going to be around during the end times when he come back. They're going to be reincarnated, continue being reincarnated all the way until he comes back. That's why those same spirits are going to see him. That's why that generation should not pass. So you have to understand reincarnation. That same generation is going to be here on earth when the Lord returns. You got the Israelites that followed the Lord, they're here. Hopefully the disciples that followed the Lord, they're here right now. They're here right now teaching. And the same thing with the wicked Israelites that were against him. They're here right now too. The 2/3. They're here right now. It talks about that in Zechariah 13. They're here right now waiting for the Lord to return and get his vengeance. That's the point of the Lord returning, getting vengeance, because that same generation is here and he's going to take his vengeance out on that same generation. Now hold up. Let me cook right here. I mean, Matthews 22, just a little drive-by, verse 29. Yahushua answered and said to them, ye do err, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of God. So that's his problem right there, just off top of the head. Like he erring because he don't know the scriptures. Here then let me find this about damn. Let me see if I can find it. About Elijah. Here, right here. So this is Matthew 17, right? Verse 12. No, verse 11. No, here, let's go all the way back. Verse 10, I believe so. It says, and his disciples asked him, saying, why then say the scribes that Elijah must first come? So the scribes say Elijah must first come. What does it mean? Elijah was already dead. Well, he got beamed up. He got translated into a chariot. That's the vanishing part that he's talking about. The same thing that happened to Elijah is going to happen to the elect, the so-called rapture, right? It says, but I say unto you that Elijah is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer unto them. So what does he mean? Elijah come and they knew not. Then the disciples understood that he spake about John the Baptist. So he was talking about Elijah coming and they didn't know not. But then the disciples understood that he was talking about John the Baptist. What are they saying here? They're saying that Elijah was reincarnated as the man John the Baptist, and he came. That's reincarnation in the Bible, man. But they like to spin it and twist it because they don't want to truly believe, because they know what that means, But it says, and when they were come to the multitude, there came to them a certain man kneeling down and saying, okay, let me move past that though. That's reincarnation. So what does it mean Elijah will reappear, will come as John the Baptist? He was reincarnated as the man John the Baptist. Here go another one. This is Matthew 16. Back in Matthew chapter 16, it says, verse 14, it says, and they said, some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. So he's asking like, who are they saying that I am? Jesus, who the world calls Jesus, asking, who do they say I am? And the disciples saying, look, some people say that you're John the Baptist. All men that already was dead. Some saying that you're Elijah. Some saying that you're Jeremiah. What are they trying to say? They're saying that you're those men reincarnated. That's what they were trying to say, but they were wrong. He wasn't, because he's Yahweh Shai. You know, he's Isaac reincarnated, if you have ears to hear. You know, just breaking down the reincarnation thing, you know, you have to believe in reincarnation in order to put the pieces together. That's why he says later on in that, right? Um, Verse 28 in Matthew 26, verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. What does that mean? That mean that those same disciples, right, and the followers will be reincarnated living today, and when the Lord return, they're going to be saved. That's the vanishing part he's talking about, and they're not going to die. They're going to be saved by the Lord before they die. That's exactly what it's talking about. So let's keep going.
Did you catch it? He's talking to his disciples, and he says that everything he just described, the end times, the tribulation, the second coming, is going to occur before this generation passes. He tells his disciples that when they see all the disasters he just described, that his second coming is near, and the generation will not pass before it happens. He's about 2,000 years late.
No, you're taking generation in a carnal, in a manly way. In a manly thought, you know, you're not taking it spiritually, what he was meaning. You know, the Lord thoughts is not man thoughts, so you're thinking like a manly way of what generation mean according to Esau.
That's pretty bad, but it gets worse, because this isn't the first time that he said this. In Matthew 16, 27 through 28, Jesus says, "For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what they have done. Truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." You can't get more clear than that. Clearly this is a lie. So why isn't this proof positive?
And we just run it out before he even went through it, you know. But it's saying the same thing. It's proving that, look, it's reincarnation. So if you go back to verse 13 and 14, it kind of gives you more of an understanding. That's why they were saying, is he Elijah? Is he Jeremiah? Is he John the Baptist? They saying, are those men reincarnated to the men that they're seeing in front of them that's being called Jesus or Yahushua at that time? That's what they're saying. So it's all talking about, it's spiritual. You have to understand reincarnation to understand it. All that same generation is still here on earth right now. Those same spirits, not the same bodies, that's carnal. Those same spirits are right here on earth right now waiting for the Lord to return to be judged.
Mainstream Christianity is false? Obviously it is. Jesus said he'll return before some of the people in front of him are still alive, or before the generation has passed. That didn't happen. He didn't. So why do people still believe in mainstream Christianity? It should be case closed right there. Jesus lied. So what does mainstream Christianity have to say about this? Well, they generally give a few possibilities. Either Jesus didn't know when the end times would occur, or he was being metaphorical, or something along these lines. This is clearly a cop-out. It doesn't matter if Jesus knew or he didn't. He gave a time frame for when it would occur, and that doesn't negate a lie. Not to mention the fact that raises the question of Jesus being supposedly all-knowing. What about if it's metaphorical? So here's the thing. If the Bible is so unclear about what is metaphorical and what isn't, then how are you supposed to know what's true at all? How are you supposed to know which verses are a metaphor and which are literal?
This is how you're supposed to know. First of all, the Lord has to give you the understanding. The Lord has to give it to you through the Spirit. And you have to be spiritual. And you have to do this. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 1. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest. Eat this roll and go speak into the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy balls with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. And he said unto me, Son of man, go get thee into the house of Israel, and speak with my words unto them. You got to eat the whole roll. You asking a lot of questions that you can't answer, because you probably ain't ate the whole roll. You got to read the whole Bible, man, and pray for understanding, you know. Let's keep breaking that down. Proverbs chapter 1. Verse 5, straight to the point. A wise man would hear and would increase his learning. A man of understanding should attain into wise counsel. You got to attain the wise counsel, and you got to hear, and then you got to increase your learning and your understanding. But verse 7 is very important for this guy right here. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. So he's a fool that's despising the Bible, the wisdom and instruction of the Bible, which comes from the Lord. But if he actually feared the Lord, which you clearly see that he don't fear the Lord, to say verses that prove that Jesus lied, that means you don't fear the Lord. That's why you can't understand it. You have to be able to fear the Lord. You have to eat this whole row, right? Obtain the wise counsel, right? Pray for the Lord to put the Spirit on you to get the understanding. Man, let's keep going, man. Because that's a very good question. That's a very good question. Here, let's pull like two more of my favorite ones I like to always pull. This is Psalms chapter 40, verse 7. Then I said, I come in the volume of the book it is written of me. You got to read the whole book and understand it. And that includes the Apocrypha, the volume of the book, man. You got to eat the whole row. You got to study it and attain the wise counsel and pray to the Lord to give you the Spirit. You got to be spiritual. And it says, I delight to do thy will, oh my God. Yeah, the law is within my heart. You got to be an Israelite too, man. It says, I have preached righteousness in a great congregation. I have not refrained my lips, O Lord, thou knowest. You can't refrain your lips from the truth, because a lot of these so-called Christians, they read some of this stuff, but they refrain their lips for certain reasons, worldly ties, because they don't want to be hated for the truth. They don't want to be hated for the Lord's name. They want to be loved. They want to live as an Epicurean, not a Stoic. They want to live in pleasure, you know what I mean? That's why they make up shit like pre-tribulation rapture, when Acts 14 tells you through much tribulation we must enter into the kingdom of heaven. Last one to end it off with my favorite book, Revelations. What was that? Revelation chapter 10, y'all? I think it was. Yeah, Revelation chapter 10. See, I still got it a little bit. Verse 9 says, and I went to the angel, and he said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up. No, just eat up pieces of it. No, just snack on it. No, just eat around the edges. No, he said, take it and eat it up. That means the whole thing. It says, and it shall make thy belly bitter, which he read a little bit of the Bible, and it's making his belly bitter, and he don't like it. It says, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book off the angel's hand and ate it up. Is he literally like eating a book? Like he like ripping off pages, eating it? He kind of got like some some type of sauce that he liked, and he's kind of putting it on the pages to give it a little flavor, and he got some wine there. No, man, he's reading it, he's studying it, he's learning it. It says, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey, and as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter because of the bitter things, the things, the responsibility that's put on you of being on fire, doing the works, keeping the law, statutes, commandments to the best of your ability. Some of the bitter things of like just Matthew, the book of Matthew's, knowing what happened to our Lord, knowing the things that's going to happen to us, being hated, sacrificing your body when you're out there on the highways and byways, those are all the bitter things that make man fall out this truth. Some of the things being corrected, being rebuked by the truth, it's like a two-edged sword. Those are the bitter parts of it, that gets bitter in your belly, which obviously happened to him. He's probably homosexual, from his look and some of the things that he's about to say, some of his worries, and that's bitter towards him. So that's why he's going off like this. And he ain't no Israelite, he an Edomite.
All the verses that are sexist and homophobic, are those metaphorical or are they literal?
They're literal.
What about every single sin, every single command, every single promise? How can you possibly decipher what's literal and what's not?
We're going to leave it off right there. You got to have discernment. You got to obtain a wise counsel. You got to pray to the Lord. You got to be a spiritual Israelite man. Didn't it say in Romans 3, and to them was given the oracles of God? I mean, what does that mean? Break it down, you know what I mean? So it's a lot of different things that come upon it, and one of those things is you got to eat the whole roll. You got to eat the whole Bible. You got to learn to study the whole Bible rather than just asking questions. And a lot of people do this when they're trying to debunk the Bible. They just ask questions that they can't answer, and then they falsely accuse the Lord, or accuse us, or accuse the Bible, or whatever the word, because they can't answer the questions because they ain't ate the whole roll. So hopefully this has been edifying. This is debunking that Jesus lied. This guy, whoever his name is. With that, I'm gonna say salvation to the elect. Shalom, Kwam Yasharala.